Welcome to Deep Thought, the power of one's sexuality. And it's more than just getting some. It's more than just getting some, because it's on a deeper level. Because when two people come together, what is it? It's a connection. Now, remember in the last episode, I was talking about leaders and followers. Followers have a connection to a leader. Now, when I say the sexual part, it ain't like they physically have sex or anything, but they feel a connection. That's the thing. Someone's sexuality is more than just their physicality. It plays a part, but it's still more. It's about making a connection with another human being. And that's more intangible. It's more of a vibration. They can feel each other. And if you think about it, right? If you look at leaders, like I mentioned something about cults in the last one and everything, a lot of these leaders, they usually end up getting into some sexual trouble or, dealing with a lot of their followers or something like that. And that's because they influencing them on that level, even in a heterosexual basis. Like if it's a male leader, it's a lot of times you hear stories about, them sleeping with all, a lot of their followers or something. I mean, it happens in churches all the time, spiritual and everything. But then you say, well, okay, what about the men? They should be able to resist it. And generally a man can, but if a man is looking at another man and feeling the power, feeling the connection, then that other man wants it. So here's like in that thing, think about something. Think about it, right? Like you're in a church, a spiritual organization or something. As a man, you see another man, he getting all the women. Subconsciously, you want the same things. In fact, that's a thing that's happening on YouTube. You get a lot of guys, they really, even though I say they got to get out of it, but I have a different perspective, but I can understand it. They want to look like, these handsome men, these tall men. I mean, you got guys talking about getting surgery, well, when they talking about looks maxing, it's always a specific thing. They want to be just like them, They want to be like them. They feel like, oh, they doing something. Like I remember a young man, he said in a comment, he said, oh yeah, I'm talking like Rom and everything. I'm getting some women. Another guy wanted me to teach him how to walk. See, and that comes back into the whole, leaders and followers thing. See, a lot of followers, they will want to be like the leader. They would like to be like the leader in one way or the other, which they could speak like that leader, which they could carry themselves, which they had the same influence. And a big part of that is the sexual thing, it's the sexual energy that someone feels for someone else. Like I said, with if it's a man, the women are going to feel it, so they're very influenced by it. In fact, and I know for a fact in some seminaries, some Christian seminaries, they will teach that a male minister can build up a big following just by being handsome, because it's going to influence what he says and does. And then, like I said, the men, well, they're either going to feel some jealousy or they're going to want to be like him. That's why you get a lot of guys, they'll follow certain content creators. I use content creators in the last one, but they'll say, well, I want to be like him. Oh, I need to get this car. I need to hit the gym. I need to cut my hair the same way. That's always been the thing. And what that come down to, that follower wants to have sex. So it's a powerful thing. It's an influence thing. I remember on my men's channel, I had a video, and somebody tried to come against it, but they were coming from a place of ignorance. If you look at salesmen, and in fact, a lot of them have a strong sexual magnetism. Salesmen and women, because they can connect. It's not about having sex, but it's about the connection. Indeed, Napoleon Hill in his landmark book, Think and Grow Rich, he had a chapter on sexual transmutation, and he talked about that. Like if a salesman has that energy, they can make sales. Like I remember when I was working at a gym, it was part of a chain, and the top salesman in the chain was his brother, and his sales was incredible. And he was very quiet. He wasn't like one of those type talk. In fact, when I was going through training to do sales for my gym, I mean, the sales overall manager said you need to shadow him for a week. And dude, he was actually quiet. But then I talked to some women who joined the gym because of him, and they were like, oh, he's sexy. You know, it was like, oh, okay. And shoot, I ain't gonna lie, I worked at another gym, and shoot, if I had a woman that came in, right, and I would look at her and be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna write this one up. And I would say that was good. 90% of the women who would come in there and I'm showing them around signed up, 90%. 90%. You know, you ain't gonna get everybody. But what was one of the things? That sexual energy. In fact, I remember at one of the gyms I was selling at, I had a couple women sign up because they thought I was attractive. Because as soon as they signed up, trust me, they were very flirty. It makes a difference. And plus, another part of just having that sexual energy is part of it, like I said, the connection. You still got to talk. And you still got to make the other person comfortable. And see, you can use someone who has that power, if they know how to convert it, to transmute it, they can influence people. Like I said, if you're a man, you can get the women, you can influence them, but then you can influence the men by them thinking, oh, if I'm doing like him or something, I can get what he's getting. That's the powerful of it. That's the power of it. Like I said, like if I was to start a business, like say if I was going to start a business, like a clothing store or something, and selling men's clothes, right? Most of my salespeople would be women, fine women. In fact, now I haven't seen them around lately, but I remember I've seen them at several malls, like in the region, because I've seen them definitely in the Baltimore area, but I used to see them also. I remember going to a mall in Pentagon City in Northern Virginia, right next to DC. And I saw them. It was a group, and I think they were Israeli. And they would always be selling some lotions and stuff like that. And I peeped right away, because some of them I joke with. I say, oh yeah, I see y'all hustle. And they just laugh with me. I saw one, she was real fun. She see me coming, she said, I'm a hustler, baby. We'd have fun just talking, because I knew their game. But they were very sexy. And they would use that to get sales, influence sales. Because I remember I was at a mall one time, because I was working at the mall anyway. And I'm sitting out in like the, cross section, sitting in a bench, just relaxing during a break. And, that woman who was singing Hustler Baby with me, she and this dude were walking to an ATM. He actually walked to an ATM and get out some money. And they were fun to deal with, because they'd be very flirty. They'd be like, hey, handsome, and be holding your hand, doing all that stuff. And I was like, man. And they had men to do that with the women. So I was like, oh man, this is some genius ass stuff. But they were getting money for it. Indeed, I remember seeing that video, a documentary about Abercrombie and Fitch. And, there were some issues with them, because they only wanted like very model looking white people to work in the front for them. And in fact, there was a similar store, and a friend of mine, she had a son who worked at a similar type of store, but because he didn't have that model look, he had to work in the back. They were using sexuality to sell. Indeed, if you look at commercials, they are using sexuality to sell. Seriously, think about it. Just look at the actors in any commercial. And on a deep level, remember what I said yesterday about that connection, leaders and followers. Usually, if they're trying to sell something, I'll just take a look at who they trying to sell it to, and it's like, oh, they trying to sell to these types. Like I've seen a lot of commercials, and they'll have interracial couples in there. They are looking for that. They're looking for a crowd, whoever they're trying to sell to. And I remember reading something, they're saying, there's been an increase in the Hispanic population. And they pointed out, if you look at a lot of commercials, the women look they would have women on there that look racially ambiguous. Racially ambiguous. So, and of course they were sexy. You know, like car commercials. They have the sexy person driving the car, getting the woman, getting the man. It's a very powerful thing. I want y'all to think about that. I want y'all to think about that deeply. You know? As always, to think. So anyway, I'll get back with y'all tomorrow. Peace and blessings.